Topping the news at this time, the only president of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago who was not from the legal field, George Maxwell Richards, brought a vast level of humanity to the post of president. This from Dr. Brinsley Samaru, who spoke of Dr. Richards' stellar contribution as the fourth president of TNT's Republic.
He was the only president of the country who was not a legal person. The tradition for, all having presidents up to the present one, who is now the president designate, is that they have all of them been lawyers with legal training. He did not have that legal training. But I think he brought, a tremendous degree of humanity to the office of president.
Dr. Samaru admired the late president for his uncompromising adherence to truth and right principles.
I think Professor Richards leaves a very enormous legacy for Trinidad and Tobago.
How do you think people will remember him? I know you mentioned his punctuality. What specifically about him would citizens never forget?
His honesty, his uprightness. He had a tremendous sense of humor. You could sit down with him and talk for hours, and his speech was punctuated by jokes all the time. Typical Trini jokes, so that it would be difficult to fault him in any particular area. And of course, the nation remembers him as a carnivalist.
He says the late president enjoyed the street mass and participated, working to demonstrate that carnival is not obscene, but an integral part of Trinidad and Tobago. Dr. Samaru says that Professor Richards will be missed.
I think it is a most unfortunate loss for Trinidad and Tobago, because I have had a very long association with Professor Richards. I would say something like about 40 years, when we were both colleagues and senior administrators at the University of the West Indies, and then later on during his life as President of the Republic.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has expressed his great sadness on receiving the news of the passing of former President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Professor George Maxwell Richards. He said as the holder of the highest office in the land from 2003 to 2013, he served this country with class and distinction, even as he remained grounded in his love for all things Trinidad and Tobago, especially carnival and soca music. The Prime Minister notes that Max, as he was affectionately known by the citizens of our Twin Island Republic, struck one as a man who was not only accomplished, but also enjoyed life to the fullest. And he distinguished himself as a true patriot throughout his career. He wished condolences to the family of the former president, stating that flags will fly at half-mast at all public buildings in accordance with the directive of the Minister of National Security. Dr. Rowley said further details of funeral arrangements will be released after consulting with the Richards family. And the leader of the opposition, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, says she was also deeply saddened to learn of the passing of this country's fourth president, Professor George Maxwell Richards. She says she remembers him as honorable, patriotic, and noble, and he served Trinidad and Tobago with distinction in his role as head of state. She remembers during her term as Prime Minister, she valued his sound advice and recalls his wit and wisdom during their consultations. And she said although they may have had differing views at times, he was always willing to listen. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar said Trinidad and Tobago has lost a statesman and a true son of the soil. And more tributes for President George Maxwell Richards continue to come in, with veteran trade unionist Robert Giuseppe remembering Dr. Richards for being a Caribbean man. He told CNews he also remembered him as a true Trinbagonian.
president's situation is that he has his rules and functions to deal with, and I think he carried them out. Nobody ever really complained about he not carrying out the functions that he was elected to do. What I know of Maxwell Richards is that he was a Chimbigonian at heart. He will be able to deal with the cultural arrangements. He was able to sort of at least make certain statements that, all of us could have understood at that point in time.
He said his love of Trini culture, including partying and having a good time, only proved him a man of the people.
I have nothing much negative to say about him. If other people want to believe because he likes carnival and things, something a president can do, I think most of them get the whole action wrong in terms of what Caribbean people are really about. And he was a very Caribbean guy.